So, welcome Gustavo Esteva from the Universidad de la Tierra in Oaxaca, Mexico, to Trent University. You're currently sitting in the Champlain College Living Learning Commons, where later tonight we're going to be doing the Chocolatada Fiesta in your honor. And the first question we have for you is, what action did the Zapatistas take on the 21st of December, on the winter solstice, that marks the beginning of the new Mayan calendar? And what is the meaning of that in your understanding?
Thanks, Michael. I can feel and appreciate very much the hospitality I am getting here. And yes, it is very important. It's a very good point of departure for a conversation. What the Zapatistas did just a few days ago was to occupy again peacefully the same towns that they occupied in the uprising 19 years ago. This time they came in silence, without weapons, with a weapon of their presence, their vitality, their joy, and an amazing order, an amazing discipline. This organic order coming from inside, with all the smiles in the eyes, with, of course, the ski masks, and in silence they crossed all these plazas and all these streets that they occupied 19 years ago. And then, after being there in the plazas and just raising one hand, they left, and they left also a communique. And the communique was only, ¿escucharon? Did you listen? The estruendo of su mundo que se derrumba, the sound of your world falling apart, and the sound of our world re-emerging. And I need to say time and again, the Zapatistas are mostly indigenous, almost every one of them are indigenous, but they are not an indigenous movement. This is a movement for everyone. And they were, in 1994, a wake-up call for all of us, indigenous and non-indigenous people. And every anti-Semitic movement since then have been acknowledging that they were really the wake-up call. It was the awareness of all the horror of neoliberalism, all the horror of globalization. But today, this is a new wake-up call. And I think it is even more important than the first one. This is coming in a different moment, in a different context, and with a different presentation. I think that what the Zapatistas did in December the 21st is to really announce the end of the world as we know it, and the beginning of another world.
Wow. So the next question then is, here you've come on the North American Mobility Fund's final funding to look at how the Universidad de la Tierra, an indigenous, apprentice-based, non-institutional learning space and community in Oaxaca, can participate in curriculum development here in partnership with your friends and your allies in the Indigenous Studies department at Trent University. When you want to talk about these kinds of learning communities and these kinds of learning methodologies and learning journeys to young people as well as to people who are part of the department's community, what do you want to share with them about these new forms of curriculum and how they're taking inspiration from indigenous knowledges to recreate and remake new forms of education in keeping with these other broader shifts that you're perceiving?
Perhaps the first point, the most important point, and this is the pertinent place to say that, we are trying to go beyond education to learning. We are putting the emphasis in learning, and how we can learn from each other. Perhaps the most important point right now is to say that we need, in this terrible moment in history, we have the horror now in our world. We are in danger. It is in danger the Mother Earth and the survival of the human species. This is not apocalyptic randomness. This is an empirical description of the moment. In this terrible moment, we need to listen and we need to learn from each other. And we need to learn particularly from indigenous people that have been in this kind of crisis, in this terrible situation for many, many years. And they can now be the source of inspiration. We can listen to them and learn with them and learn from them what to do in this terrible predicament. And again, I need to quote the Zapatistas. Really, one of their main ideas is we need to stop the idea of creating one world with one definition, whatever kind of definition. We are now creating a world in which many worlds can be embraced. That is, for me, the main message of the indigenous people. They're not trying to have a kind of imperialism in the reverse. Let's create the world in our image. No, let's acknowledge the difference. Let's celebrate the difference. It's not only to tolerate the difference, but really to celebrate the difference. We are very different. Let's celebrate the difference, and let's find harmonious ways for the harmonious coexistence of the different.
During your stay here, you've been asked to speak a lot about food and the way in which food is more than just a symbol sometimes for the kind of people's movements and alternatives that we're looking for, that we're hungry for. You've also talked about the idea that to really know is to saber, is to have in a certain sense the taste. Would you have anything to comment on the role that you see food movements playing in these emergences as well?
Well, the main point is that we are really trying to bring back to the center of our lives food instead of marginalizing it. I will use, I think every day I will repeat this expression of the Eduardo Galeano, the Uruguayan poet, who recently said, in these times of global fear, there are some people afraid of hunger, and the rest of us are afraid of eating. Of course we are afraid of hunger. There is 1 billion people that tonight will go to bed with an empty stomach. Yes, there is again the fear of hunger. There is hunger in Canada or the United States, not only in poor countries. Everywhere we are afraid of hunger. But the rest of us are afraid of eating because we know what is in our plates. We know that all our bodies are now contaminated, are polluted. And then we need to do something. We cannot wait that upstairs the governments will change their policies and will do something about food. And we cannot wait for a kind of moral epiphany of Monsanto or Walmart for them to begin to do exactly the opposite of what they are doing. We need to do something by ourselves. And the good news is that this is happening. What we need is, again, to listen, to learn from others, because the people are taking the question of food in their hands and putting it back in the center of our lives. It is, I could say, this question of knowledge, to know, to learn from each other, saber, that is the same like sabor, taste. Sabor and saber have the same root. It is this kind of knowledge and food are the two pillars for the transformation that we need to have today in the world.
And what kind of, what particular role or step in the journey do you see the teachings of corn playing? Like, what does corn teach us in a certain light of this conversation?
The most important point is, of course, the main lesson that we can learn from the elders. Corn is a creation. It's a creation of a dialogue. It's not a plant that naturally grew out of evolution. It is a creation with a dialogue between the plants and people. When we talk about that we are people of corn, we are talking not only as a beautiful metaphor, but talking about one source of being, the possibility of being in dialogue with the plants, with other living beings, with the so-called nature. It is the message of this dialogue that is associated, is the beginning of corn and the beginning of our civilization. It is this possibility of the dialogue that is for me the main message about corn. corn is a human creation and it's a natural creation at the same time. These are not two different things. Human creation, natural creation is the same. It is one thing. This is the kind of things, the main lessons that we can derive from corn today.
And similarly, what do you think the main teaching is for cacao?
Cacao is, of course, the food of gods. And as we all know, it was not with sugar. It's a bitter food that we were taking to change our life and to change our soul. It is for a fundamental transformation. I think we can talk for hours about all the meanings of cacao and chocolate and how it was created before it was transformed into a commodity and an industrial product. It is not a commodity, it's not an industrial product, it is the food of gods. And then we are sharing this food of gods with others. And in that sense, we are experiencing a very profound spiritual feeling. And to drink chocolate, the kind of intoxication you get when you are drinking a lot of chocolate, it is a spiritual experience, a profound spiritual experience. When we are talking about chocolate, we are not talking about nutritious food. We are talking about a spiritual transformation.
And finally, there's been a lot of talk here at Trent about the relationship between the summer course and the Universidad de la Tierra. If people watching this video are interested to know that you're now an adjunct professor at the Indigenous Studies Department here at Trent, and they're interested in studying in Oaxaca or coming down and working with you another way, what kind of invitation would you make? Please
come. You need to come. We need to talk. It is the kind of things that we can talk in Oaxaca, in the south of Mexico, the kind of things that we can talk in the nights with the elders of the village, the kind of talk that we can have with a cup of chocolate in the hands, because we need very intensely this kind of a change. You must note that today, while I'm here, there is a very prominent Ontario activist in Calpulalpan, one of our villages, talking about the kind of things, the concerns that we have in common, and particularly the kind of things that we can do together. Please come. We are waiting for you in Oaxaca. We will have a really very fascinating collection of activities for you in Oaxaca to talk and to discuss and to visit and to put your hands in the hands of other people in Oaxaca, because we are together, not changing the world, something that is very difficult, perhaps impossible, as the Zapatistas say, but we are trying together to create a whole new world. Please come.